as part of a new strategic railway. The aim was to connect Western Austria and southern Germany. The train played a major role in World War I, but stopped running after the war. With Slovenia joining the European Union in 2004, the railway was restored. The Slovenian railway now offers tourist rides through some of the most spectacular scenery on Earth. It's like a trip back in time.
Oh, I would love to take that.
I would love to take that too. I mean, look at some of this scenery. And it's an old steam locomotive that is running again.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. All right, that's our time for now. Thanks for watching. A little snow coming in, I guess. Prepared for that?
You go have a hot cup of tea.
I need something.
Yeah.
I don't feel that bad. Just something.
You'll get there.
Look at that sunset.
Yeah, beautiful.
It's great. All right, that's our time for now. We'll see you back here again tomorrow. News 3 Now at 5 starts right now.
And right now at 5, a murder trial in Rock County is underway. But is there enough evidence to link the defendant to the crime scene?
National Bible Week would be recognized in Wisconsin under a new resolution at the state capitol. We'll tell you about the proposal's opposition.
Plus, how a bill passed by the Assembly could help the state's industrial hemp industry.
From the Channel3000.com Alert Center, this is News 3 Now at 5.
And thanks for staying with News 3 Now. And this just into our newsroom. The former executive director of a Madison nonprofit could face 18 charges of misappropriation of persons identifying materials and 1 count of theft from a business.
Madison police say 40-year-old Jessica Grunek was the former executive director of NAMI, which provides support for people affected by mental illness. A detective says she used NAMI Wisconsin credit cards to make a large number of unauthorized purchases, including hotel rooms, rental cars, moving expenses, and restaurant bills. This is a developing story we will continue to follow and have more on Channel3000.com.
Madison broke a daily low record temperature this morning, and the wintry weather is not done yet.
No, that's because more snow is on the way. Let's get a first check at the forecast with Gary Canalti on the weather patio. Gary?
Well, it's cold out here. That's thanks to the snow that's on the ground, and the additional snowfall will just keep us cold for a little while longer. Let's start out by taking a look at the records that we broke. We actually tied a record low temperature yesterday because we dropped to 9 degrees just before midnight. So that tied a low temperature record of 9 degrees. And this morning's low of 4 broke the record of 7 set back in 1986. Now, as we take a look at visible cloud tracking, you can see the reason why. There's new snow cover on the ground across much of Iowa, southern Wisconsin, northern Illinois. Notice the northern part of the state. They had very little in the way of snow cover. So temperatures weren't a lot colder up to the north than they were here in southern Wisconsin, where Platteville dropped to 1 below 0. Madison was at 4, Janesville at 1, 2 at the Baraboo Dells Airport, so everybody was cold. Current temperatures are in the middle teens, but these have already started to drop, and wind chills are in the single digits. After that, we have snow on the way for tomorrow with about 1 to 3 inches of accumulation through much of southern and eastern Wisconsin. So temperatures will drop into the single digits this evening and then start rising overnight. Light snow will develop tomorrow with about 1 to 3 inches by about this time tomorrow with a high of 27. Later on, I'll take a look at a forecast that does offer at least a little bit of improvement in temperatures as we head into next week.
All right, Gary, thank you very much. With the cold weather and snow in the forecast, it's a good time to download our weather app. Our meteorologists provide hourly forecasts and up-to-date radar in the app. You can download it for free in your app store.
A jury in Rock County is currently sitting through its second day of testimony.
They'll decide the fate of Jacob Davenport, who is suspected in a Beloit homicide last February. Rock County reporter Adam Duxter has been following this case since the very beginning. Adam?
Yeah, Eric and Susan, this is the second jury homicide trial in the last month in Rock County. But state prosecutors are hopeful that, unlike the last one, this week's trial will result in a conviction.
On Tuesday, a Rock County courtroom entered the second day of testimony and the death of 28-year-old James Thompson. The Janesville resident was found unresponsive in his car the night of February 9th. Police determined he was shot earlier in the day. 2 days after, they released photos and surveillance video of a person of interest. And 2 months later, Jacob Davenport was arrested in Texas. According to a search warrant affidavit, Davenport had a history of robbing drug dealers. And Thompson, who dealt drugs, had several $1,000s on his person at the time he was killed. But Davenport's defense attorney, Michael Shannon Murphy, is arguing there's not enough evidence to link him to the crime. Today, state prosecutors called several witnesses to the stand, including a former Save-A-Lot store manager, an informant who provided additional video, and one woman who said she knew Davenport from a project he did on her home. She says when she saw the surveillance video, she knew it was him.
When I seen those hoodies in the video, it brought me instantly to Dane. I've seen that red hoodie before. Let me keep watching. And then I continually kept watching. And then I seen the shoes. And then when he turned around, that's when I said, that's Jake.
But whether or not Davenport is the person seen in the surveillance video is still a point of debate. And with no DNA evidence, it will likely be a big key in this case.
Now, we've shared James Tompton's story since the very beginning and every step along the way. And today I had a moment to catch up with his family and ask how they're doing headed into this trial. And they say they're hopeful that they can come to a conviction by the end of this week.
A story we will continue to follow. Adam, thank you.
And a Dane County trial for one of the 3 men accused of killing a 20-year-old man in Fitchburg is underway. 19-year-old Gary Mays is facing first-degree intentional homicide, party to a crime, and other charges. Back in January, a court declared a mistrial for Mays. He, along with Joshua McInnes and Trevon Jackson, were arrested in March of 2018 in connection with the death of Julian Patterson. Police say Patterson was with a friend for a drug deal when a fight broke out. They say McInnes shot Patterson, who later died at a hospital.
Julian was on the ground. Gary was like right on the side, maybe like a couple inches away from Josh. And I was just like, in the car, about to get out of the car because Julian was like, stay in the car, stay in the car. But I was like, I don't want to. And then, I ended up seeing Josh just like, shooting him at that time.
McInnes was sentenced to 20.5 years in prison. Jackson was sentenced to 5 years in prison. Two controversies at the state capitol tonight center around the upcoming holiday season.
A group advocating for the separation of church and state is criticizing state lawmakers' move to declare 2 weeks from now National Bible Week. And as Rose Schmidt explains, the name of a holiday symbol is getting some pushback too. Rose?
An evergreen tree will go up in this building in just a few weeks to commemorate the holiday season. In the last hour, the State Assembly passed a resolution officially declaring it a Christmas tree. But there's been some debate over whether that's what it should be called. That and whether religion plays a role here at the state capitol are being examined here tonight. National Bible Week will be recognized in Wisconsin under a resolution passed by the State Assembly Tuesday.
I certainly think that having us recognize it as National Bible Week, since many of us are Christians, it doesn't mean that, we should recognize that, just like I'm not Jewish, but I certainly celebrate the Jewish faith and people who want to practice that.
The resolution was authored by Republicans who say they have made similar moves before, such as declaring May 2017 as Jewish American Heritage Month in Wisconsin. But the Madison-based nonprofit Freedom from Religion Foundation is taking a stand against the resolution.
For the Assembly to consider a resolution basically endorsing one holy book over another is totally inappropriate.
Governor Tony Evers refused to answer News 3 Now's questions about the issue during a news conference. This resolution comes as Evers declared that the evergreen tree that will soon be placed in the state capitol is a holiday tree, breaking tradition with his predecessor, former Governor Scott Walker.
If you asked 99% of Americans and you held up a picture and it was an evergreen with ornaments on it, they would say, oh, that's a Christmas tree.
A Republican lawmaker resurrected a bill to call it a Christmas tree every year. But the Freedom from Religion Foundation says it's testified against that proposal in the past.
Why would we want to make many citizens in Wisconsin feel like outsiders by calling this a Christmas tree when you can call it a holiday tree?
Democrats criticized the Christmas tree resolution largely today on the Assembly floor, with Representative Jonathan Brostoff saying that if Republicans want to help Christians, they should pass gun control legislation to help avoid them getting killed.
Rose Schmidt live at the state capitol. Rose, thanks.
Police have made an arrest after a dog was found severely malnourished along a highway in northwestern Wisconsin. The Boyceville Police Department said they've arrested someone for not providing food and drink to an animal and intentional mistreatment of an animal resulting in disfigurement. Gabriel is the name of that dog given to that animal by staff of the Dunn County Humane Society. Gabriel has gained 20 pounds since he arrived at the shelter back on November 1st. As of now, he is not available for adoption, but the shelter is taking donations to help cover the cost of his recovery. You can learn more about how you can donate by visiting our website, channel3000.com. Firefighters are investigating the cause of a fire happened in Sun Prairie. Multiple departments responded to a house fire. Single-digit temperatures were an issue as they fought the fire at this home in the 2300 block of Branch Road in the town of Bristol just after 6 this morning. The fire was put out in about a half hour. Their response came as the Madison area set a record low temperature this morning. Some lows across southern Wisconsin dropped into the single digits, with some areas below zero.
Our staff need to have a little more rehab time, so the cold weather to get their body warmed back up and to kind of get everything back to a normal, safe operating procedure. So a lot of times that's why we'll call in extra assistance to help us in case we need to rotate guys through a little more quickly.
No one was injured in that fire. Crews stayed on scene for some time to monitor possible hot spots.
As temperatures plunge across the area, staying indoors and warm is not always an option for everyone, but there are resources available to help. The Beacon is the only day shelter for the homeless in our area. There's the Salvation Army shelter for women and families, and there are 3 shelters: Grace Episcopal, St. John's Lutheran, and First United Methodist. 70 people can be housed at Grace Episcopal, 60 at St. John's, and 35 at First United Methodist. And even though we are barely into the season, it's been a very busy one for these places.
With this early onset of winter, we're seeing that our support services that Porch Light provides and other facilities here in Madison being stressed with the cold weather and the unseasonably early snowstorms that we've had.
Just to give you a sense of the need, 135 people are being served at night. The typical number this time of the year is 90 to 100 people.
Most Wisconsin schools and school districts are meeting expectations. That's based on newly released data from the Department of Public Instruction. The school report cards, in their 4th year now, are designed to be used by people living in the districts to hold schools accountable for their performance and growth or reduction in scores from year to year. 87% of schools met or exceeded expectations. That is up 3% from last year. 53 schools got just 1 star.
The Wisconsin Assembly has approved a bill intended to help the state's industrial hemp industry as the program enters its 2nd year. The bipartisan measure is designed to help farmers, hemp processors, retailers, and consumers as the industry grows. The bill comes as some lawmakers and Governor Tony Evers are pushing to legalize medical marijuana and decriminalize small amounts of pot. There's also a bill to fully legalize recreational marijuana. The bill now goes to Governor Evers.
The Green Bay Packers organization says Zeke Bratkowski, the quarterback who backed up Bart Starr during the team's 1960s dynasty, has passed away at his Florida home. He was 88 years old. The Packers Hall of Famer was a quarterback in Green Bay from 1963 to 68, and then again in 1971. He was also later an assistant coach with the team. One of Bratkowski's most notable performances in relief of an injured Bart Starr came back in 1965, a 13-10 overtime playoff win over the Baltimore Colts that sent the Packers to the title game against Cleveland. More to come on News 3 Now at 5. Up next, hundreds of thousands of young immigrants' futures are now in the hands of the Supreme Court as justices consider the legality of the DACA program.
And coming up tonight at 6, a burglary victim says a teen suspect is now targeting others. Why the district attorney says he keeps getting the opportunity to commit more crimes.
And on Wall Street, the Dow flat for the first time in 5 years. The NASDAQ added 22 while the S&P closed up 5. And we'll be right back.
Former President Jimmy Carter is under observation at, they're pointing to our producer in the background there. Sorry about that. Jimmy Carter is under observation at Emory Hospital in Atlanta following brain surgery this morning. The Carter Center says he is recovering from a procedure to relieve pressure from bleeding on his brain. A spokesperson says there were no complications from the surgery, which was necessary after President Carter fell several times recently.
Immigration advocates and dreamers descended on the U.S. Supreme Court today for arguments over the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program, or DACA. The Obama administration created DACA to protect young people brought to the U.S. illegally as children from deportation. But the Trump administration ordered an end to the program. The justices will consider 3 lower court rulings that the Trump administration acted improperly when it ended DACA and that it did not provide an adequate reason for doing so. Karen Reyes is one of hundreds of thousands of dreamers who could face deportation if the court rules against the program.
I'm hoping that with all the amicus briefs that were also filed, that they read those thoroughly and, see our stories.
The Supreme Court's decision is not expected for several weeks. And coming up tonight at 6, hundreds of students in Madison walked out of class and headed to the Capitol in hopes of helping save DACA. We'll hear from them. That's at 6.
The House will launch the first public impeachment hearings examining President Trump's dealings with Ukraine tomorrow. CBS News has obtained an 18-page memo outlining Republican strategy for defending President Trump. They will argue multiple points, including that President Trump did not lay out any conditions when he asked Ukraine's president to launch political investigations. An Arctic air mass has blanketed most of the country. We're not alone, setting new cold temperature records from Texas to New England. In Michigan, residents are digging out from 30 inches of snow just west of Traverse City. And in Detroit and Buffalo, New York, each posted roughly 10 inches of snow, records for this time of the year. In the South, freeze warnings are posted from Texas to Florida. In Dallas, below freezing temperatures led to over 1,800 power outages. And right here in the Midwest, this was day 2 of the cold temperatures. We're hoping to thaw out soon, but it might come with a trade-off. Gary Canalti is here with the forecast, right, Gary?
Exactly. We've got snow in the forecast for tomorrow after we get rid of the cold for tonight. Now, we set record cold temperatures this morning. You can see the record low actually early or late last night was 9 degrees for yesterday, set back in 1979. And we tied that with the temperature dropping to 9 just before midnight. And then this morning, we dropped to a low of 4 degrees above zero. That broke the old record low of 7, set back in 1986. And as we take a look at the snow depth, you can see there's about 3 to 6 inches of snow on the ground from Madison eastward and across much of northern Illinois. That was where the bulk of the heavier snow fell from the last system. The farther north and west you go, the less snow there is on the ground. Once you get north and west of the Dells, very little in the way of snow on the ground, but we're going to add to it. Right now, we're looking at about 1 to 3 inches of snow generally from tomorrow through tomorrow evening. We've got a pretty broad area. There might be a few areas in there that might be closer to the 3-inch range and a few areas that might be closer to 1 inch, but it should be a light snow, and that'll be coming through. And then after that, temperatures will slowly rise up. Over the last 48 hours, look at where our temperatures have gone, from 30 back to around 20 for much of the day yesterday, and then down to the single digits last night, barely making it up into the middle teens today. And look where the wind chills have gone. They've been below zero through much of the night and into the morning hours, and have gradually just barely gotten above zero recently. If we look at the future temperature and wind chill trend over the next 48 hours, you can see those temperatures getting back up into the 20s for tomorrow, and then eventually back to around 30 as we head toward Thursday and Friday. As we check out the alert days that we have in the forecast, tonight very cold temperatures with single-digit temperatures and wind chills below zero this evening, so an alert day for that. And for tomorrow for the snow that'll accumulate 1 to 3 inches. As we look at the live view from the Edgewater Skycam, skies have been mostly clear through the day in Madison, but the almanac shows this story. High 17, just 1 degree above the record low high temperature of 16 set back in 1940, and that record low temperature of 4 this morning. Right now our temperature is sitting at 15 degrees. Wind chill is 8, winds out of the southwest at 5 miles per hour. So again, those temperatures will drop off into the single digits this evening and then start rising overnight. So our forecast calls for skies to start out clear and then turn mostly cloudy overnight. Low temperature of 7, probably around 8 or 9 o'clock this evening. Then those temperatures rising into the teens, and there could be a flurry later on tonight. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy, light snow, not as cold, but still well below normal for this time of year. High temperature at 20. 27. And again, the total snow probably about 1 to 3 inches through late tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening. Future track shows the clouds moving in quickly tonight, so those temperatures dropping into the single digits, then rising back into the middle teens by tomorrow morning. Tomorrow, here comes the snow. This is at 4 o'clock. You can see light snow through much of southern Wisconsin with temperatures in the upper 20s. That should end tomorrow evening, and then by early tomorrow morning, notice how skies start to clear and temperatures drop back into the upper teens and lower 20s. And on Thursday, we'll look for a fair amount of sunshine, but high temperatures will only make it into the lower 30s. Again, that snowfall amount 1 to 3 inches through just about all of southern Wisconsin. The 7 to 10 day forecast calls for temperatures to slowly increase by a couple of degrees each day, so that by the Tuesday and Wednesday of next week, we're looking for high temperatures in the lower 40s. And then a cold front comes through Wednesday night with a rain shower chance on Wednesday and maybe a couple of flurries early on Thursday. Temperatures drop back into the middle 30s toward the end of next week. As we take a look at first alert traffic right now, the Beltline view at Park Street, traffic moving pretty slowly in either direction. It's not a holiday anymore, so we're back to our normal traffic. We're seeing delays right now on the eastbound Beltline from around Monona Drive going back to west of Verona Road. Westbound, the delays start around Fish Hatchery Road and go back almost to Monona Drive as well. As far as traffic times are concerned, right now it's almost a half hour on the eastbound Beltline from University Avenue to the interstate, 22 minutes back in the westbound direction. And then if you're heading out of Madison down toward Janesville, about 27 minutes on I-3990, 18 minutes out to Sauk City on US 12 from Middleton, and 20 minutes on US 151 and East Washington Avenue from downtown to Sun Prairie. That's your News 3 Now First Alert Traffic.
Thank you, Gary.
Still ahead on News 3 Now at 5, the vaping epidemic continues as doctors in Detroit say they have performed the first ever double lung transplant due to vaping. The damage done on a teenager. More on that story after the break.
Doctors in Detroit say they've performed the first ever double lung transplant due to vaping damage. Doctors at Henry Ford Health System say the 17-year-old is doing as well as can be expected. He is not being identified. So far, 2,051 people have been diagnosed with vaping-related lung illnesses, and 39 have died. A recent study found 11% of middle school and 28% of high school students reported using e-cigarettes.
I believe we are just beginning to see the tip of the iceberg, and making sure that our teens understand the danger of vaping is of paramount importance.
Last week, the CDC announced a potential breakthrough in the vaping outbreak. Investigators found the chemical vitamin E acetate in the lung fluid of nearly 30 patients who suffered lung injuries.
A new report suggests Google has been secretly collecting the personal health records of millions of Americans. According to the Wall Street Journal, it reportedly involves a deal made last year with a leading nonprofit health system that has more than 2,600 facilities in 21 states. The program, called Project Nightingale Ascension, is reportedly providing patient names and dates of birth, as well as lab results, hospitalizations, and diagnoses to Google.
Leaks of private medical information are enormously common. The Department of Health and Human Services actually tracks all of the medical data breaches, and actually some of the largest data breaches in history have been medical data breaches. So it is a significant concern.
In a press release, Google and Ascension say they are fully committed to a robust data security and protection effort and fully compliant with HIPAA, the Health Insurance Portability Act of 1996 that protects patient privacy. Stay with us. We'll have another check of your forecast in just a moment.
Cold tonight and then more snow.
Yeah, we'll bottom out this evening. Actually see rising temperatures overnight, but that will lead to perhaps more snow for tomorrow. Nothing on radar right now, but temperatures already started to fall. We're down to 15 here in Madison. Wind chills right now running in the single digits above zero. As the winds pick up, even though the temperatures will go up, we'll be looking at wind chills around zero for much of the overnight hours. About 1 to 3 inches expected through much of southern and eastern Wisconsin for tomorrow into tomorrow evening. Alert day for tomorrow for the snow, but then temperatures back in the 30s through the weekend and maybe some low 40s by early next week.
That is exciting, the 40s. Thanks for joining us at 5. We'll be back in 30 minutes for News 3 Now at 6. CBS Evening News is next.